Hi, hello friends, welcome back to another video. This should be one of the last couple of weeks here in this apartment. If everything goes through, I am in the process of buying a house. So I thought it would be fun to maybe read as much as I can in this apartment until moving day. Basically, I don't know what to do with myself. I just finished my book recently. If you've been following my writing vlogs, my brain has been so wrapped up in that book for literally the last year that now that it's over, it's very strange. The last couple of days, I've just been rotting. I've been watching like other people's moving vlogs because I'm getting so excited to move. Anyway, so I have a list of books here, or a stack of books here. Some of them I am in the middle of reading. Actually, everything but these top two I'm currently reading. First up is one that I'm reading for my Reading Around the World Challenge for America. Reinventing the Enemy's Language, Contemporary Native Women's Writings of North America. I don't know if there's a lot of books like this out there, let's be honest. So I'm currently about halfway, and it's poems, little memoirs, short little essays, fiction, nonfiction. It's just chock full of all sorts of different stories, and it's been really good so far. I couldn't tell you even how long I've been reading it, like it's been a while. Then the other big kind of doorstopper book, I have been getting very much into reading about real America. I mean, like the CIA and like the shadow government, and you always hear about like
the deep state
and stuff on the news, and I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. And there's so much that you are taught in school, like in public school, that's just like surface level, like the stories that they want you to know. This is The Devil's Chessboard. Alan Dulles, The CIA and the Rise of America's Secret Government. So Alan Dulles was the founder of the CIA, or the longest serving director of the CIA. David Talbot exposes the underside of one of America's most influential figures. The Devil's Chessboard tells the timely, provocative, and gripping story of the rise of the national security state and the battle for America's soul. This is... Okay, I might come to regret this because we did have to switch to the iPad, so I will try to be brief. So those are my two door stoppers. For something a little bit lighter and shorter, this was in the donation bag because, like I said, I'm moving. And so I went through, I actually already had a big stack on the floor that was about knee high of things that I wanted to get rid of. This was in there. I think I thrifted this when I was in New Mexico the first time out of a little free library. This is High Tide in Tucson by Barbara Kingsolver. This is actually a series of essays just about life, kind of ruminations on life. And I do love a nature memoir. It kind of seemed like maybe from the cover that's what this was going to be. And actually the first one about this little crab does kind of feel like a nature memoir. I'm on page 149. It hasn't blown me out of the water by any means, but it's good enough to finish for sure. Then for the two that I have yet to begin, I was randomly watching Frankie's Shelf. I say randomly watching, like I don't watch their stuff all the time. They mentioned that they were reading Ira Levin's Stepford Wives, which I have read and did really like. This is This Perfect Day, and the reason why I thrifted this one years ago, I don't even remember where I got this one from, is because on the back it says it outshines Orwell's 1984, which is like a lie, like for sure it's a lie. But it still makes me very interested. And then this last one that I want to get to, which may be more, probably not, because this is actually kind of a lot. The last one that I want to get to is Boulder by Eva Baltazar, which won the English Pen Award. I've seen several people talk about this on YouTube and give it very high praise. It's basically a queer novel about two women. One of them wants to be a mother and one of them really does not. Eva Baltazar again demonstrates her preeminence as a chronicler of queer voices struggling to be heard in a hostile world and in language as brittle and beautiful as that of an ancient saga. That is what Jack in the Books said specifically, was he was talking about the language, like how it's written so beautifully, and it's only 105 pages. Like, look at how skinny that is. So I feel like I could read that. Could I read it in a day? Yes, I could read it in a day. So I feel like this would be a nice little palate cleanser between some of the like longer books. So anyway, let's actually get to reading now. Say hi real quick. Say hi real quick. Say hello. The laundry is going in the background, so apologies if you can hear that. Also ignore my little eye patch things. They have been on entirely too long. I just finished, what is this? High Tide in Tucson. I enjoyed this. It covers a ton of topics and she does it very well, and I can see why she has become such a prolific author. The way that she's able to distill these big ideas, like some of the topics in here are heavy, like war comes up. Is there cat hair stuck in the eye patch? I think so. Some of my favorites were the first one, the title story, High Tide in Tucson, and then she does bring it back in a reprise at the end, so the whole collection is kind of bookended. It really is using him as kind of a metaphor. You know how like crabs molt? She talks about that. She uses that as like a metaphor for kind of accepting change in life. I thought it was really beautiful. So Confessions of a Reluctant Rock Goddess was apparently an all-author band. Amy Tan was one of the members. Stephen King, apparently, he played like bass or something like that. So random and so funny. The Spaces Between, that was another one that was a favorite. This one right here, she talks about going to the Heard Museum in, I think it's in Tucson, or in Phoenix. Want to go there now, if it's still open. I know this was published in '95, so maybe it's not open anymore. So if it's still open, I would love to go. Apparently it has one of the most impressive like Native American collections of art. She says, I'm drawn like a kid to mud into the sticky terrain of cultural difference. How wondrous it seems to me that someone else can live on the same round egg of a world that I do, but explain it differently. How it got here and what's to be done with it. How remarkable that other people's stories often sound more true to me than my own. I really resonate with that. I don't exactly know why. Oh, she talks about being on book tour in Postcards from the Imaginary Mom. And she did a different city every day. And so she was, the amount of like planes that she was on and the amount of travel that she was doing, I would lose my mind. I mean, obviously a book tour for a writer is like, you imagine that's like the pinnacle of your career. She obviously talks about how grateful she is, but then she says, I have no control over where, what, and with whom I would like to be. I deeply miss my friends, relaxed conversation, being in a house, making myself a sandwich, sitting still with my own thoughts, tucking my child into bed, the things that add up to what matters in my life. I am moving from city to city in a strange glass bubble, the psychic equivalent of that aquarium car that's used for displaying the Pope. Wherever I am there for now, and then I will disappear. I haven't been doing the 5-star rating thing for a while, since January of 2025. I've been doing like the great, the good, the okay, and the bad sort of categories. This was, it's right now it's dancing somewhere between great and good. So by the end of the month, hopefully, I will have a better idea of exactly what category I want to place it in. Now I need to take off these things and do some skincare, and then pick up my next book, I guess. Okay friends, a little update. Today has been a little bit of a wash. Didn't feel super great this morning, and then I had a work Zoom that turned into like another work Zoom. I did get a little bit of Devil's Chessboard read, but then I did go check the mail. I did recently order 3 books off eBay, and one of them clearly has arrived. So let's see which one. This is We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. Definitely probably saying their name wrong. Look at the eyeball. 1984 and Brave New World were sort of inspired by this book, which came out in like the 20s. Copyright 1920. So this will be interesting to read it, you know, over 100 years later. It says, the chilling dystopian novel that influenced George Orwell while he was writing 1984. In a glass-enclosed city of perfectly straight lines, ruled by an all-powerful benefactor, the citizens of the totalitarian society of the one state are regulated by spies and secret police, and wear identical clothing. They are distinguished only by a number assigned to them at birth. That is, until D503, a mathematician who dreams in equations, makes a discovery. He has an individual soul. He can feel things, he can fall in love, and in doing so he begins to dangerously veer from the norms of his society, becoming embroiled in a plot to destroy the one state and liberate the city. Set in the 26th century, We was the forerunner of canonical works from George Orwell and Aldous Huxley, among others. It was suppressed for more than 60 years in Russia, I think it's a Russian novel, and remains a resounding cry for individual freedom, as well as a powerful, exciting, and vivid work of science fiction that still feels relevant today. Maybe I will dedicate a whole video just to this one. I did not intend on any of these arriving in time for this video. It sounds kind of similar to the Levin. Maybe we read these in conversation with one another, like back to back, and then I can do like a whole separate video on them, maybe, we'll see. I'm gonna regret not putting on a little bit of makeup probably before this clip, but here we are, real and raw. This was not the video I thought that I was making. Started the video on Sunday. Sunday and Monday were normal. Got some bad news on Tuesday. I don't know how well I'm gonna articulate because I still kind of feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. Tuesday, I literally just got an email along with many other people saying that basically our office was just like shutting down and we no longer have jobs. I know, it sucks. So I no longer have a job, which is weird. Because I loved my current position or my previous position. My first thought when I got the news, which by the way, if you've ever been laid off, I never have been. So I now know your pain and I deeply sympathize with you. Yeah, it's very strange. There were some signs, but not enough for us to have known. My concern right now is not money. I have plenty of savings because I've been saving up to buy a house. My main concern now is that I'm gonna lose this house. We've put about $2,000 into it with, you know, the earnest money, the inspection, the appraisal. There was a survey that was done, all the things that you have to do before you actually even put your down payment on the house. There's lots of things that you have to pay for ahead of time. When the mortgage lender calls, on the day of closing, my like HR people, you know, if they, instead of saying, you know, yes, she's still on the payroll, if they say no, she got laid off, then I could potentially lose this house, which really sucks because it was pretty much the only one that we've seen so far that we really loved. I've been mentally decorating for like the last month. At the end of the day, it's a house. It's an external thing. Like there are girls who I worked with who like they just got back from maternity leave. So they have infants, like they have dependents that they're caring for and they just found out they lost their job. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any dependents. It could always be worse. Anyway, that's my little update. Please don't feel bad for me. When I think about like what's happening in like the Middle East, then I'm like, oh, like then it puts things in perspective. I'm like, these are first world problems and they suck. But I'll be okay. I'm not being blown up. You know what I mean? I literally have an interview today, so things aren't all that bad. Now, in terms of an actual reading update, this book has been getting me through I started this like Tuesday evening, and I read a little bit on Wednesday as well. I'm like 90 pages in. This book has actually been pretty much sufficiently distracting me. which is pretty impressive. This is the one that is supposed to be like 1984. So this is Ira Levin's This Perfect Day. I have this really dope cover from 1970. I think it's like I assume first edition. I don't know, it looks like it. This has been really cool. There's a lot of similarities in here to Brave New World. It's giving The Giver a little bit as well. It's kind of crazy how somebody can write something in 1970. It still ring true in so many different ways. Like, the world is run by a kind of supercomputer called Unicomp. It's essentially like AI. Like, it kind of feels like a precursor to AI. All the decisions that everybody makes, Unicomp makes for them. They also get an injection that keeps them very docile and very, very happy. And literally, like, the curse words in this book are the words hate and fight. And so our main guy, Chip, is kind of questioning things, and he finds himself kind of wanting to do things like make a choice. The pacing has been awesome. I feel like there's been a decent amount of things happen in 92 pages. So I am going to continue with this one today. Okay, friends, it is Saturday. I initially was planning on finishing the video today. I have yet to finish a book. It's been rough. I actually went, it's already almost the afternoon. I went this morning to clear out my office. So that was like a very bizarre, almost out of body experience. It was just like the building was like empty. What is my life? What is my life? That's what it feels like. I'm not going to finish this video before we finish a book. So I'm halfway through this. Really, truly enjoying it. The pacing has been really incredible. But I popped on real quick to say that I got a book in the mail. I had ordered on eBay. I had thrifted a couple before I knew that I was going to lose my job. Otherwise, I probably maybe wouldn't have spent the money. Let's see what this one is. Hollywood Babylon. This is going to be another one of those nonfiction, really disturbing, I'm sure. Here is the hot, luscious plum of sizzling scandal that continues to shock the world. I love that sentence. Kenneth has fashioned a delicious box of poisoned bonbons. Picking through the slag heap of the Hollywood Dream Factory, he's put together a truly prodigious anthology of star-studded scandal. Now, typically, I don't give a crap about actors, musicians, anything to do with Hollywood. I'm kind of obsessed with like Hollyweird though, and all of the really dark, seedy things that are coming out of Hollywood. There's so much that is just absolutely devastating. I think that the whole institution kind of destroys people's lives. It can in a lot of ways. Look how giant though. See how big the words are? It's a little bit, I need to crack the spine. Good morning, friends. It is what I think is going to be the final day of this video, and we have finally finished a freaking book. This was a lot of fun, and it was for sure the only thing that I was really able to focus on in terms of like storyline and pacing and plot. I'm glad this one ended up being, in my pile of things to read. He is definitely one of those people. I won't say he was crazy ahead of his time necessarily, but he's up there. There's a character named Siri, but with 2 R's instead of 1. And there's these massive computers, like big, like memory bank computers. There were definitely some things in here that kind of still feel of the moment, which is insane when you're thinking about the type of technology that Levin would have been aware of in 1970. He never uses like artificial intelligence or any form of that word, but that is essentially what he's talking about, because it's this, this sort of computer that is making choices for everyone. It's making the perfect choice for everyone, right? The goal is perfection. There's also a character named Julia, like in 1984, and I want to say there was something else that kind of reminded me of that. I'm not saying it's a ripoff of 1984 by any means, but I for sure think that he was probably inspired by it, at least somewhat. I would love to watch this in movie form. It was so good. I could absolutely see somebody turning it into something kind of like Equals. There's also a character who is like the Goldstein or Goldstein character in 1984. It raises a lot of really interesting questions that unfortunately, like very scarily, are things that we, I think, are asking ourselves still today and will continue to ask ourselves around AI and the whole WEF's you'll own nothing and be happy kind of thing. And it's perfect, and there's no crime, and there's no war, and there's no, because there's no real like emotion, because we're just all so numbed. I don't know that I'd quite give it 5 stars. It's for sure a 4, maybe a 4.5. We'll have to see what I give it on Storygraph. There were some icky things in here about, there's for sure, like women are very objectified for sure. Unfortunately, when you go back 50 plus years and you read these older kind of books, that happens a lot just because of society at the time. And I will say there's nothing really special about the writing itself. It's not particularly literary. In fact, the pacing goes so fast sometimes that it feels like summary. Like it feels like you're just reading summary. I'm already in a better place than I was feeling when you didn't even see me on like Tuesday and Wednesday, I don't think, because I was too upset to be on camera. Now, I have one other one. We might be able to race through Boulder. I want to at least be able to give you guys one more book. This is the one all about motherhood, where we have the 2 women. One of them wants to be a mom, one of them does not. It's only 105 pages, so I feel like I could get through 105 pages in potentially one sitting. It is like 2:30 in the afternoon. So I am going to dive right into this, but I think I'm going to hop on the treadmill. I need to just get up and kind of like move around a little bit. So let's start Boulder, and I will quickly read and review this for you guys so that you have at least one more potentially to read this summer. Hello again, friends. This will be the last update. If you made it to the end of the video, I'm shocked. I feel like it was kind of a mess. I did power through Boulder by Eva Baltazar. This was as good as the reviews that I've heard, for sure. This is one that you should definitely read. It is pretty intense and kind of dark, some of the themes. There's like infidelity at one point. There's just a lot of dark thoughts. I don't know. The main character, we're going to call her Boulder because that's the only name we know her by, is just she's one of those people who's just very self-isolating, and she just wants to kind of be out on a ship. She's a cook, And she just kind of wants to be out in the middle of nowhere, doing her own thing and kind of being left alone, but also, you know, she ends up falling in love with these women. So it's like they keep tying her to land, and she just kind of wants to be free. That's like her biggest thing. I felt like one of the biggest themes in here, I'm just looking at my notes trying to remember what I wrote down, was there's a very blurred line between like love and hate. And the way couples will try to control each other, because the whole big thing is that her girlfriend Samsa wants, or do they marry? I don't remember if they married or not. I don't think so. The whole thing is that she really wants to be a mother and she becomes one, but then Boulder doesn't want one. She's very against it. And like communication issues, that's a big theme, like just kind of going along with what the other person wants and then finding yourself in a situation where you just don't want to be in that situation. The pacing of this was really insane. 5 years go by and then like 8 years have gone by. There's kind of a time jump, and it's a lot of time to cover in such a slim book. It's literally like barely over 100 pages. There's a lot of like nature metaphors, like comparing her body or the bodies of women to a literal boulder, like rock, like hard surfaces. Boulder is kind of, she is literally like, she's like impenetrable, right? It's sort of like a metaphor for her personality and her heart. And then other women are described, like the women who she loves, are described as more like soft materials, which I love, like a good nature metaphor. But she does objectify these women, and they are kind of reduced to their bodies for sure. And it actually had me thinking, because I was not maybe as like offended as if the writing had been from like the perspective of a male. I'd be like, oh, that's so objectifying. But it's interesting because when it's coming from a woman's perspective, it doesn't feel that way at all, which is really interesting. It's something that I need to dive into a little bit deeper, I think, because I haven't written any notes or anything. I just finished it earlier, so I haven't really fully like metabolized all my thoughts yet. Domestic life. That's kind of probably the biggest thing in here, is like this idea of domesticity and what does it mean. And for Samsa, the woman that she loves, that's her version of freedom, but for Boulder, domesticity is like a trap. So I loved this. I thought it was translated really beautifully. I always find a translation is the best when you can't really tell that it was written in any other language other than English, if that makes sense. But absolutely, you could read through this in one sitting. It was quite good. Again, another reading slump book I would recommend for sure. Maybe check some of the trigger warnings though. And yeah, you've made it to the end of the video. I wish I could have read more, and I will give more updates on house things and life things in a future video. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.